What's up, my biker friends? I'm out for a cruise south of Berlin, and today I use Calimoto to guide the way. Stay tuned. Alrighty guys, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, please have a look around. Give me a subscription if you like the PC. I'd really appreciate it. If you're already a subscriber, thank you guys so much for your support. You guys are awesome. So it's a beautiful day in the middle of April, and I thought I have to get out on my bike and go for a ride. And rather than using some of the pre-planned routes that I already have and use my existing navigation system, I decided to use a smartphone app instead and wanted to see how that works. I downloaded the Calimoto, which is probably one of the most popular apps now when it comes to motorcycle navigation. And they've done a few things differently than most other navigation systems, especially the dedicated navigation system when it comes to the ease of use, especially when it comes to planning a day trip like this. So I open up the app. It's really easy to get around. It takes just a few minutes to understand how it works. You can basically pick a route length and pick a general direction where it should take you if you do a round trip course, and it will just come up with a suggestion based on the length of route and based on the general direction you want to go to. And then you still have the options to set a few waypoints if there's something on the way that you would like to pass through, and then you click a button and off you go. This is as simple and as user-friendly as it gets when it comes to motorcycle navigation. Now that's opposed to using a dedicated motorcycle navigation system like this BMW Navigator V, which is in essence a Garmin unit. It's all Garmin inside that unit, and it's also using Basecamp to plan a route. There's one of these nice speed traps. Don't go too fast, otherwise you'll get a ticket. Now for longer trips, I definitely prefer using my Garmin unit here, because the Basecamp app allows a lot more options when it comes to planning a proper route. I can basically take other routes, other GPX routes, and put them on the map and route my route along it. There's points of interest that I can put in there, and I can really sort and organize all my routes that I have. That is really, really useful. Also, I know that, especially for Garmin, the maps that the navigation system is using and the maps that you're using in Basecamp are exactly identical maps. That isn't always the case when you use some kind of an online tool, route the tour for you, and then you download it to whatever app you're using. They're not necessarily using the same basic data set. Now that isn't such a huge problem because roads are not changing that much in a short amount of time, but you know, for those of you guys, if that's important to you, but it's one of the advantages of having a Garmin unit. Now there's another advantage that especially the Garmin units have over even the TomToms and other dedicated navigation units that you can get for your motorcycle, and is that the route setting can be set so that it doesn't recalculate the route on the navigation system. Now what I mean by that is if you deviate from the initially planned route, most navigation systems will just recalculate and how you get back to the next waypoint that you have put in there. So it's just going to reroute something and get you back on track. Now this Calimoto thing does the same thing. If I'm deviating, if I'm just taking a wrong turn, it'll just recalculate and get me back on route. Now that's very comfortable and great to have, but for very many, and I think Garmin's still the only one, for all the other units, you cannot turn it off. So sometimes, if you're very specific about the route that you want to ride and you do not want the navigation system to interfere and recalculate it, that's a really nice feature to have on the Garmin unit. I always have it set to that setting. I never let the Garmin recalculate once I've planned it on the computer. This is exactly how I want to ride it. Now if there's a detour in place or a piece of road or part of the track that I can't travel, I kind of have to find my way back, and I just use the zoom in and out function to see where I am generally, and I'd usually find my way back to the route myself. But therefore I can ensure that I spend so much time on planning the route that I'm going exactly the way I wanted it to. So if that is somewhat important to you, this is still a huge advantage in Garmin. Now if you don't care about all those things and you're not that particular about planning the route, or you don't even plan ahead that much, you just go to a general location where you want to travel and then just go along with the flow and pick the day route when you're there, then these smartphone apps are actually really good and easy to use. I know Calimoto has expanded their feature set now, that there is something like a planning tool online that you can actually use on your computer, and then you can pre-plan the route on the computer and then use it within the app, which is really cool. So it finally allows you to do route planning. Now I haven't tried that yet with this particular unit to see how good it actually is and if I can use it for my cases, but obviously development is moving on. When I bought this dedicated unit, that's 5 years ago, I bought it with the BMW when I had the BMW 1200 GS, and I bought this dedicated unit and had a lot of advantages at the time that now sort of are not as important anymore because the apps are now picking it up. Also the hardware you're running is much better. Even the crappiest smartphone is still better than the best dedicated navigation system you can buy for a motorcycle. I don't really understand why they use such bad hardware. The screens are crappy, the processing unit is really slow. You can't really do anything on the unit itself. It really sucks. Good to see other bikers here today. And with all that being said, I have to say, also this unit I'm using here, it is actually not that great, but as compared to all the alternatives, it's still the best thing you can use out there. Back to Basecamp. Now Basecamp is a feature-rich software. It can do a lot of things that are now important to me, but the learning curve is quite steep, I have to say. It's not very intuitive to use. Once you know how to use it and use the ins and outs and you learn how to use it, it's actually quite a powerful tool. But I think it's such a simple thing of routing and how to route something and how to plan a tour on the computer. There's so many better ways of doing it. Just using Google Maps is so much more intuitive and easier to use. I still wonder why they can't get it straight with Basecamp. It really annoys me. So I would say that's the summary of comparing a smartphone app to a dedicated unit. Now the question of course is, would I still buy a dedicated unit if I had the choice today? Now I have this thing obviously, but would I buy it again? And the thing is, I probably would. Not so much because it features or it has more feature and better features than really a smartphone app nowadays, but I just like having two different screens. I like using the smartphone for other things, so I usually have it as a monitor screen for my cameras if I'm using them, and I also use it for other things, so having an extra screen, that really helps, so I don't have to occupy it just for the navigation system in itself. So for me that's a huge issue, and again the feature that the Garmin unit will not recalculate the route is something I've gotten really used to and I've learned to appreciate it. But other than that, the list of advantages is getting really short nowadays to really spend 600 euros or more on a dedicated motorcycle navigation unit. I really have to say that. So I have to say, overall, Calimoto did a pretty good job of routing this route today. There was a few roads in there that I had never been on, and I guess that's kind of the point. It just helps you discover places that you wouldn't otherwise see if you're just going down the same roads that you already know. So that's pretty cool. Had a great day, got to see a lot of cool stuff. Anyway, I'd be interested in your experiences, and I'd be interested in hearing what you use to navigate the routes. Maybe you're still using maps, you're not using any of these devices, but it'd be good to hear what you have to say. Please put it in the comment section. I'm very curious to hear. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. If you're not already a subscriber, please subscribe to the channel. Guys, I'll see you in the next video. Ride safe.